All right, so check this out, guys. This exercise will change the way you think about the hip hinging movement of our pelvis. Now you'll notice something. When you go into that deep part of your squat, if you're lacking any degree of pelvic tilt, the butt will start to tuck underneath, and then this is when you start to get that butt wink. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're working towards trying to improve on your range of motion in your squat, or you're trying to improve on your pancake range and trying to get that belly right down to the ground, you're gonna need this exercise. So for this one, we're gonna focus on opening up those muscles in the hips. Now, it's not the psoas that we're focusing on in the hips, but instead we're gonna focus on the second part of the hip flexor muscle called the iliacus muscle. For this, you're gonna need a plyometric box. Start from about 60 centimeters and then you can work your way down. You're gonna shuffle back and sit sideways on the plyometric box. Here's the key. Now, because the width of the box is wide enough to stop your knees from caving inwards, when we perform that hip hinging movement or good morning movement, it will stop us from rolling those knees forward. Now, I know that this method has been described by the knees over toes guy, but he uses the assistance of a bench. The issue with the bench is it again allows us to bring our knees forward when we're performing this pelvic tilt. But the box is wide enough to stop that from happening, so then that way we're recruiting the iliacus muscle. So watch. I'm gonna place my hands down in front of me, and then I'm gonna start to tip forward with my hips. As I'm doing this, I'm gonna try and pull my knees out as much as possible. And then as the belly comes down, you're gonna try and push back up. So there are 3 progressions to this exercise. The first one is using our hands. We hinge forward and we use the hands to help us support the weight down, and then we push back up. Second one is the hands off, and we're just gonna use the strength of our muscles to hinge forward and then come back up again. And then finally, we can use a stick, a dowel, or anything that's lying around in the gym or at home to help us improve on that pelvic tilt. So we place the stick on the back like you would do with a barbell. Then you start to hinge forward. You go to your lowest point, pause, and then bring yourself back up. We're gonna try and aim for 3 sets of 10 reps. Once you can do that, you're gonna try and lower the surface that you're performing this exercise on. If you don't have lower boxes, you can always increase the height of your feet. So I'm gonna use yoga blocks to help me do this. And the higher you go with the blocks, the deeper you're gonna go into that pelvic tilt, which will give you more access to the iliacus. Now, if you're doing this wide-seated good morning on a wooden plyometric box and it starts to feel a little uncomfortable behind the knees, feel free to place a yoga mat down or something that is quite soft in order to protect the back of your knees. This will allow you to feel way more comfortable and hence will allow you to go a lot deeper into the exercise.